All right, we're here with Rob Keough. We're here with Temple of VTech, and Rob Keough is you're the product planner for the
Yeah, I'm
Civic Type
product
R.
planner for the whole Civic lineup.
Ah, excellent, excellent. So I guess our first question would be, I'd imagine you got a little bit of feedback over the years that maybe the American market would like the Civic Type R. What kind of moved you guys to finally pull the trigger and bring that car to the United States?
Yeah, so Type R's had a long performance history in Honda and Acura brands. So globally for Honda, Type R goes all the way back to the original Honda NSX, which was Acura NSX in the States. And then we had an Integra Type R as well, while other markets were getting Civic Type Rs. What really brought the opportunity to bring the new Civic Type R to the U.S. for the first time was the adoption of the global Civic platform, which you see on all that. We debuted it with the new sedan, and then the coupe, now the hatchback. And so Type R is based on the hatchback design. And since we made the decision, because we have a global platform to bring the hatchback to the States, it enabled us to bring the Type R to the States as well.
Excellent, excellent. So, if you could just talk us through some of the features of the car and kind of some of the unique parts that makes this a Type R. So, talking about going through the front of the car, I see that you have functional brake ducts here. So you have bigger fender flares here. So all of this has functional aero here in the front with the diffuser and brake ducting. Can you talk a little bit about that?
Yeah, so actually, I mean, right away when you see the Type R, you immediately notice all the aero bits on the car. Makes it look very unique versus the Civic hatchback. Even when you're looking at a sport hatchback, which has a lot of aero kit, the Type R is just altogether more extreme. And reasons for this are all totally functional, so either aero package to make the thing go fast, stick to the ground, or cooling package to help vent heat from the turbo motor. So if you look on the front of the car, you've got intakes here on the extreme sides of the front fascia. This is for to take cooling air and put it over the brakes. So it's basically kind of like combination of things: cooling for the brakes, so direct air over the brakes, and also you see this channel here also puts an air curtain over the front wheels, vents out the back of the fenders here, and then you see on the lower body kit how it hugs the car, and you see a channel lip on the back there as well that routes air over the back wheel, so it helps cool the wheels and also get an air curtain over the car for better aerodynamics.
Okay, so some quick questions about the wheel and tire package and the brake package you have here. So these are 20-inch aluminum alloy cast wheels,
Yes.
and 20 by 8,
Yeah.
and then the tire options. So this is so you're going to have a standard high performance tire option. What are these?
So the standard tire on this car is a Conti Sport Contact 6. It's a ultra high performance summer tire. So and the wear rating on this is around 180. So you'll remember that from previous NSX, and even like the Civic. Or I'm sorry, not the Civic. The S2000 CR. We're in that range. So these things have a lot of grip, but they will wear out over time. So just be prepared for that. If you want to drive this car year-round, you're going to need to switch over to a high-performance all-season tire or a dedicated winter tire, and that you'll have to go aftermarket for that.
Okay, so there's basically no tire option from the dealership for the car if you want.
The factory tire is so all cars, all Type Rs when they arrive in America are going to be on this high-performance Continental summer tire. In terms of the brake package, you've got 4-piston Brembos up front, nice Brembo red there, and on cross-stilled rotors. These plates are 13.8 inches, so a lot of swept area for braking there. So really high performance. Designed to like pull this thing down from very high speed and minimal fade.
And so, and the brake pad compound you have on here is something that you expect to be able to, I could take this straight to the racetrack, hammer on it all day, and not have any problems with it.
Yeah, I mean the pads on this thing are designed to go with the performance level of this car. So you could if you're going to go do a track day and do some laps on the track, this brake package will do it for you. Of course, you can always upgrade beyond that, but this was designed to meet the performance targets of the car.
Excellent. And then one question about the limited slip in this car. So is that the same? I mean, the transmissions are different between this and this SI. Is that but similar limited slip differential in this car?
The design set, both helical limited slip differential. This one be a little bit more beefed up than the one in the SI, in the SI to handle the extra power. This car's got an extra 100 horsepower and extra 100 pound-feet of torque to deal with. So yeah, so same concept, but definitely more heavy-duty components in the limited slip and the whole transmission drivetrain.
Excellent. Thank you.
Then over the top of the car, you can see from our vantage point here, you can see the vortex generators on the top edge of the hatch, as well as the big rear wing. So the generators are there to create some turbulence and tumble to direct air over the wing, so we can get some nice downforce out of that wing for high speed stability. So yeah, definitely very functional aero kit on this car.
So I know sometimes you guys at Honda don't want to talk specific downforce figures because it can kind of be misleading and how it's stated. But can you talk a little bit about maybe like what should a customer come to understand about how much downforce the aero package is generating for this car? Is it just designed to make zero lift? Is it actually giving you more downforce at speed that's going to allow you to get higher corner speed? Like what should people think of this as?
I don't know the specific numbers, but we get some people say, oh, does it really need to have that big wing on there? Is it really necessary? And yeah, if you want high speed stability and you want to have the car planted in corners and planted at top speed, that wing generates a lot of downforce to keep the car planted on the ground. So it is very functional. And yeah, I don't have specific figures for you for that, but it's not just, it's got a look to it, of course, but it is very functional. And I mean, that was one of the things that we, even in the development, those vortex generators weren't there originally, when they said, okay, they're designed the car this way, testing its speed. You know what? We need more downforce, or we want more downforce to get more grip, and so they added those in to get more downforce out of that rear wing as well. So it's very very functional. Not only looks cool, but it's all there for a purpose.
Excellent. So with previous Type Rs, Civic Type R and Integra Type R, one of the big differentiators for the car was that they had stitch welding, seam welding, they had chassis reinforcement. And from what I've read with what you guys have done here, you've done some chassis reinforcement over the other, the Civic hatchback model. Can you talk a little bit about how the chassis differs from the model it's based on?
So the overall body in white is pretty similar design, but it does have more welding in all the structural parts to make the car stiffer, and a few additional small structural braces, but mainly it's additional welding to make it more rigid. And then we've also got things like I mentioned before, some lightweight items. So the aluminum hood is there strictly to make the car lighter as well, and then we added in the scoop later for heat extraction. So yeah, it does have some unique body parts, but very 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 common with the overall body in white for the hatchback, with some additional reinforcing just to handle the additional stresses and strains of input. I mean, we've obviously got a bigger wheel and tire package on this, more heavy-duty brakes, higher cornering limits, so we wanted to make the car as stiff as possible.
Okay, so can you talk a little bit about, so this is a bit heavier than the Civic Sport, correct? The lightest weight of the Civic hatchback can be roughly 28 and some change. This is going to be a little bit heavier than that. Does it just come from engine, brakes, wheels?
Yeah, it's not like you said. The body and weight itself is a little bit lighter, and especially when you account for things like adjustments for putting aluminum hood on. So body and light total would be a little bit lighter. But yeah, we wanted to lighten the body because we knew we were going to obviously the wheels and tires. 20-inch wheels and tires, going to have a little more heft to them. The big 2-liter motor instead of 1.5-liter motor obviously has some more mass to it as well.
And then the active dampers as well. Can you talk a little bit about how that changes the dynamics of the car and what in that the system that's in this car in particular? I know it's a little bit different than something you'd have in like an MDX or something with the magnetic shocks. These are valve adjustable shocks.
Yes. So this has a 3-mode drive system in it, which integrates things like the active dampers and the throttle input and the steering input. But specifically on the dampers, there's 3 settings. So it's a proportioning valve, so oil valve, orifice control, if you will. So depending on whether you put it in, the default mode is sport. So always when you get in the car and you start it up, you're always in sport. If you want a more comfortable ride, you can put it in comfort. That'll open up the proportioning valve more and make it a little bit softer ride. And then you have plus R mode, which is really aggressive, and that will tighten up things even more and firm up the suspension even more. So depending on how you want to drive, so you set it in that mode, and so it's an adjustment inside the shock to that level.
Excellent. So, from a customer standpoint, somebody who's used to something like a S2000 or someone who's driven an Integra Type R before, who kind of has an affinity for some of these hardcore Hondas, what would that customer expect from the driving experience from the R Plus mode? Is that going to be just as hardcore as the previous Civic Type Rs? Is it going to even be a stiffer, more aggressive ride? Like where are we going to end up in the spectrum when you start talking about outright performance?
Had the opportunity to do a back-to-back comparison, and we haven't really gotten into like details of drive impressions, but it will, it's obviously going to be more aggressive than your everyday sport mode. It's generally meant for track day performance, so it will make the suspension harder. It will make the steering stiffer and more responsive. It will crank up the response on the throttle responses as well. So it's really geared towards track day. Overall, I think anybody that's had a previous Type R or an S2000, I think they're going to be impressed with the Plus R mode on this car. Okay.
Are there any highlights in the interior you want to talk about? I see that you guys have just kind of done a little bit of unique trim. These are not. So can you talk a little bit about maybe the seats?
So
maybe?
it's not a brand name racing bucket here. It's Honda's own design, but very comparable to what you will see with some of the branded racing seats.
Okay, so you have 3 total driving modes. So a comfort mode, sport mode, Sport Plus mode, or
so
R Plus.
This button right here is the 3-mode control button. So the default when you start up the car is sport mode. And then you can toggle it down if you want comfort mode, or you can toggle it up to get up all the way up to plus R mode. So default sport. One toggle down would be comfort, back up to sport. If you want to go to plus R, you go up this way. So when you adjust this, it affects the shock damping. It affects the throttle mapping. It affects the fuel mapping as well, and it affects the steering effort as well. So we do have a variable ratio rack on this car, which is speed dependent. But then when you adjust it from here, depending on which mode you are, it'll either lighten or stiffen up the steering inputs. So it really makes this car very comfortable to drive, because if you want to just drive this around town, you can leave it in sport mode and you'll be comfortable driving this all the time. If you're on a long highway ride and maybe the road's a little bit rough, you can go sport mode. And then if you go for a track day, you can go up to plus R mode. It really makes the suspension stiff and but very responsive for the car. Overall, the interior here, this touring car is, this Type R is basically a touring grade. So you'll have the display audio system, which you have in like a touring grade Civic as well, including navigation system. But some of the unique things here, carbon film trim on the front panel and the doors is unique. You'll see we have these suede effect finish on the door panels on the seats as well with red accents. My favorite thing about this car and what really sets it apart from a lot of the competitors is how comfortable these racing buckets are here. So we've got it's a suede effect, red and black combo. very nicely bolstered, but super comfortable. Some of the other cars you'll get into, you'll feel like you're really squeezed in and not very comfortable driving. And I'll tell you, I've almost fallen asleep in these seats before. That's one of the things I really like about this car. It's the kind of thing where you can drive it every day. This could be your commuter car if you want this for your commuter car. But then you can take it to the track on the weekends, and the seats are going to do the job for you. It's I guess you would call it a six-way. So, you've got height adjust on the driver's side as well as fore, aft, and recline. On the passenger side, it's just four-way. So, fore, aft, and recline, but no height on the passenger side.
So with the driving modes, you can just change those on the fly at any time.
Yes.
You don't have to stop the car or anything.
You don't have to stop the car, although there will be some, if you're in the middle of a curve, like you're, pulling some serious G, it's not going to let you drop from plus R mode down to comfort mode if it's got if it reads a dynamic input on the car. Okay. It's going to tell you, wait, basically have to have the car settled before you change modes. But you can do it on the fly. You don't have to. It's not like parking and changing a transfer case or something like that. Yeah.
And then, so you talked about the engine mapping. So that just changes kind of the throttle response. Does it change the maximum boost? Does it change anything about the actual power output of the car?
Well, the total output of the cars is 306, but total is not going to change. But in terms of what inputs you get at what throttle angle, it'll change that. And so, if you have your foot at half throttle and you touch this, you'll get more response out of it when you change the mode. So it does change the fuel mapping as well as the throttle progression. Yeah.
So what's kind of sales targets do you have for the Type R? What kind of volume would you be looking at for the United States?
I don't know whether we've called out specific sales target. This is a limited production car, so we're not expecting to sell 300,000 of these a year as we do with a regular Civic. But we will. We're going to cover all of our dealers are going to get a car at launch, and then some of the bigger dealers will get a few more. So we should have a couple thousand of these cars for the 17 model year.
Okay, so a couple thousand, not necessarily looking at a number like 10,000 or something, but not 1,000 or 2,000.
Yeah.
So the engine's made in Ohio at your engine plant over there. I'm sorry.
So the AP4 turbo 2-liter turbo engine is made in the United States at the Anna engine plant in Ohio. So it's built there, shipped over to the UK, installed in this car, and then we get it back when we bring the car back. So it's nice that it's, like we said, it's a global platform. It's also a global effort from Honda.
And so, in the past, the Type R engines have taken a little bit more. Some of them had port polish jobs. They've kind of been a little bit more custom and low volume. Does this engine to kind of maybe have a little bit more mainstream? I don't know how to phrase this one. I guess what I'm asking is this engine kind of maybe a little bit easier to produce than the previous Type R engines?
Yeah, I don't know the specifics of the previous engine. So, this is a mass-produced engine. It's, in terms of durability, it has to meet all the requirements for any Honda car that has to have life cycle durability. So it is built to a life cycle standard. So from that point, you can say it's very mass production. But on the other hand, it's 153 horsepower per liter. So it's pretty high strung, and you can see that we had to do quite a lot for a cooling package for this car to have heat management on this car. But it is designed to, this car will have the same factory warranty as all Hondas. So it is designed to run like a Honda, but on the other hand, it is a super high performance engine as well.
Excellent. Okay. Now, this is a question that I don't know if you can necessarily answer at this point, but a lot of these cars now that are track focused, whether you're talking about a Focus RS, all the way up to some of the supercars, whether you're talking a GT3 675 LT and Mustang GT350, one of the questions that comes up for the customers of these cars is how does this affect my warranty if I take this car on track? Do you warranty? Is track usage going to affect my warranty? Should I be afraid? How should I view my warranty in lieu of track usage?
Yeah, I don't know whether I'm the correct representative because I actually was reading an article about that for all manufacturers, how they treat it. But of course, we say Type R is designed for the street and the track, and I would think the comment for track usage would be if you drive it in the manner in which it's intended to be driven, you should be okay. But if it's abused, then that becomes kind of a gray area. So I wouldn't be overly concerned about taking it on a track day, but in wheel-to-wheel competition is probably not what it's intended for, right?
Okay, and that's certainly in line with everybody else. You don't want to, you don't warranty actual race cars. Okay, excellent. Okay, we've got the Civic Type R engine bay here. So is there anything you want to kind of highlight for us or point out? I mean, we talked a lot about the engine output.
Yeah, so this is the 2-liter AP4 turbo engine, 153 horsepower per liter, so pretty high-strung engine, very strong output. What you'll see here what's unique for all Type Rs is you got to have a red engine cover, right? So you'll notice that right away. In terms of the whole intake and cooling package here, so you have intake here, you have your throttle body here. This obviously cast intake sitting right over the turbo, so we got to have some heat management there. Turbo's right under here, under the heat shield, so don't touch. It's basically here, very very hot. And then the intercooler is wrapped around under the front bumper. What you'll, of course, you notice red Honda badge is probably this might be the biggest red Honda badge in history. I like it. So we've got intake air or intercooler air coming under here. Intake here is at the top of the hood, and then the vent at the cut into the aluminum hood is actually for heat extraction. So it's not an intake air vent. It's a heat extraction vent. And the channels that you see there, we were talking about that before. How that's routed there. It's because if it rains and you're getting water coming up the hood scoop, it's got to be channeled out the side there. But we still want to be able to vent the heat out of the hood.
So you said AP4 for the engine code. Is that kind of an internal code? Because we were under the impression it was called a K20C1.
Oh, okay. Well, I guess you hear different codes. I also heard, I was watching a video and they were referring to this car in the UK as the FK8, and we don't use even our internal code in America for that car is not FK8. So it's kind of interesting how depending on what community, what designation the engine has. So internal for us is AP4, and I don't know that other code.
K20C.
Oh, K20C.
Yeah, it's stamped on the block. That's where people get it.
Okay. So that's probably the engine plant's block code for K20C.
Yeah. There's actually a 1 up there under that.
Yeah.
Is that is this an engine that could potentially go on different cars, or is this kind of intended to be an exclusive engine for the Civic Type R?
I think this is intended exclusively for Civic Type R. I'm not sure. I have to use our imagination and see if we can put it in something else. But for now, the plan, for the foreseeable future, this is the designated engine for this car.
Okay, so can you tell us a little bit about the exhaust system here? You have 3 exhausts. Can you talk about the function and what's going into them, what the purpose is?
Yeah, so the Type R exhaust is totally unique in the Civic lineup, and it is a true triple outlet exhaust. There are 3 mufflers there, so we've got the big center pipe coming down from the motor up front, splits out into 3 at the back. But instead of having outboard mufflers like we have on the SI and even on the sport trims, we've actually it's got 3 mufflers right behind the center pipes there. So on the outboard side, they're there for flow. So we've got 2 big cylindrical cans there for the outboard exhaust flow, and then for the center pipe is basically there for sound tuning. And so we've got a smaller cylindrical resonator there for sound tuning. So basically, big flow on the outboard pipes and sound tuning with the center pipe.
And you don't have any like exhaust valves or anything that's affected by the drive modes, or it's just, there's straight exhaust. There's no mechanical.
There's no butterfly valves anywhere in the exhaust system there. And the sound tuning comes from the resonation frequency at the RPM. The center pipe is tuned to respond to that. So you've got more of a deep bass at low RPMs, and you got a nice rip on the high end as well.
What was the impetus for that? Was that just kind of a idea some engineer had? Was that something that you guys got from market research, or was it just kind of, hey, we look at this cool thing we can do?
Yeah, I didn't talk to the development engineers about that, but I guess they wanted to do something unique. The current Type R in Europe had quad exhaust outlets, but this one is really quite unique, and I think they did a great job. It's really cool, and again, very impressive sound out of this car as you step up through the Civic lineup, from a standard turbo to a sport turbo to an SI with a 1.5 turbo, and then you get to the Type R. As you move up in the lineup with the stronger engines, you definitely get more of a stronger, more powerful exhaust sound out of them.
Excellent. Well, thank you.